What's up, guys? It's GamerMD83, and I'm at E3. It's that time of year again, my favorite time of year when it comes to gaming. I mean, as much as you want to say, oh, the press conference, oh my goodness. Still, there's just this sense of entertainment. It's just a week of games, and that's awesome. World premieres, console announcements, especially when it comes to the duality of the gaming industry. Microsoft and Sony going head to head. Nintendo's still just like holding their ground and being like, yeah, we could do our own thing, thank you. All of them bringing their A game, or should I say, triple A game. E3 celebrates games. E3 sells games. E3 isn't really about the fans. E3 is a showcase. It's a sales pitch. It's business. It's marketing. It's epic and frustrating. It's exhausting and exciting. It's the gaming industry. But what was it before it was E3? Was it always E3? Did it just come out of nowhere? Was it always dedicated to games? Where did E3 come from? Before it was a show dedicated to games, it was a tiny section in an all-encompassing electronics show called CES, or Consumer Electronics Show, held twice a year. The winter show in Las Vegas and the summer show in Chicago. CES was a popular large show, but gaming was kind of the underdog of the event. The highlights were new tech for cars, home appliances, stereos, phones, while games were kind of shoved off into the first available corner of the center. I believe even the pornography floor was larger than even the gaming section, and they were on top. On the top floor, I mean. I'm an adult. For years, many people have had reason to believe that video games provoke violent behavior in gamers. This is slightly less heard of nowadays, but in the 90s this worry was very prominent in the news and in the courts. Video games were seen to be the cause of many criminal acts. This concern was prominent not only in the minds of parents, but also the government. So much so that the government even threatened to oversee the production of video games if the gaming industry didn't do something about it. So in 1994, the video game industry created the IDSA, or the Interactive Digital Software Association, which was later renamed in 1993 as what we recognize it as today, as the ESA, the Entertainment Software Association. They were made to represent the gaming industry. So after that, the ESA's response to the government's threats was to create the ESRB. So many acronyms, but it's easier than to say the full name. But the ESRB is the Entertainment Software Rating Board. Games now had some sort of protection whenever there was some kind of lawsuit. So I thought we were talking about E3. Well, interestingly enough, all of this actually gave rise to E3. After the ESA was created, the industry now had representation. The medium became more than just the group of nerds above the pornography floor. Treating them as smaller wasn't because the video game industry during that time was small. It wasn't at all. Sega was proving to be very successful in pushing the industry forward and bringing it back to a more mature audience. Nintendo was what brought the gaming industry back from the crash in North America. What Sega did was something so important during that time, and still you could see it today. I think that was the initiation of what gaming is today. And this change in mentality gave rise to new genres in gaming. First-person shooters, real-time strategies, survival horrors, MMOs. So I think that because the gaming industry had such a bad stigma during this time, and just constantly being the scapegoat, constantly getting the finger pointed for everything that went bad. Let's not pay too much attention to them because we don't really want to attract negative attention. All of this is really interesting to me because it's like, if it hadn't been for that stigma, E3 wouldn't be what it is today, I think. Because without that negativity, the ESA probably wouldn't have been created. At least not during that time. The gaming industry wouldn't have been treated the way that they were treated in this show. So they would feel this is cool, this is good representation. But since all of this was happening, they felt like they were being held back. So on May 11th, 1995, the ESA and the International Data Group organized the first E3 in Los Angeles, California. So since 1995, E3 has always been held in the LA Convention Center, except for in 1997 and 1998 when it was held in Atlanta, Georgia. Even in the first E3, 1995, like I was saying, the duality of the gaming market, you know, right now it's Microsoft and Sony, and back then it was Sega and Nintendo. You know, you kind of see the same thing going on nowadays with Nintendo, but Nintendo always kind of wanted to be the ones that didn't need anybody, where they're like, yeah, we're cool because we're cool, we don't need you guys. So they jumped on board, but they kind of like, they didn't like the idea that this wasn't a Nintendo show, or like they weren't the main ones, you know, because Sega was there and all that. You can imagine Sega comes on, Thomas Kalinske walks on, you know, the president of Sega of America, you know, Mr. Sega. He's announcing their new console, which was the Saturn, the Sega Saturn. The president of Sony during that time starts announcing the PlayStation. Nintendo showed the Virtual Boy and the Ultra 64, which would later become the Nintendo 64. SNK unveiled the Neo Geo CD. 3DO showed off the never-to-be M2 console. And Atari announced the Jaguar VR. Now, during this time, Atari had sunk during the 80s, and it never really made its way back up. E3 has always really been available to public. I mean, at least in the recent years, but you have to pay like an arm and a leg to get in. This year, since the doors to the public have kind of been slightly opened, but only to a limited amount of people, I'm still guessing that there's going to be more attendees, people that are going to be attending E3, slightly more than last year.
Do you do any Kirby?
Kirby? I can do some Kirby.
Awesome.
Just for
That
you.
was so good. Thank you.
I remember that back in 2013, my first E3, I recorded a tour of E3. That was the first time I actually went and interviewed developers, so that was hard for me. Now that EA isn't part of E3 and they're doing their own thing, E3 is a little bit quieter.
All right, go ahead and pick up your controllers. You want to take the best scoring region, the best scoring time. Come back to
Oh, and Conan! That was the year I saw Conan. We were leaving E3 and he was in the back lot and he's just walking and my brother was like, oh my god, it's Conan O'Brien! I'm taking the picture of my brother and Conan and then he's like, here, come on, I'll take a picture with you too. He's like, if you don't want it, just delete it. I was like, never.
You guys wanted a tour of E3, so I'm gonna walk around. I'm just gonna have you guys follow me and I'm just gonna tell you where the booths are. So we've got Wargaming over here.
Being all professional.
I really don't know what that is, but
I don't know what that is.
Wargaming.net.
I don't know what that is either.
They've got this Fantasia thing. I'm not sure what it is.
See,
I think it's,
I don't know what that
behind
is.
closed doors type of thing.
God, the way that I talk though, I talk like I'm being all professional. Like, here we got, come on guys.
So this is it right
I'm
here.
coming at you from E3. Come on, guys, I'll show you. Look, we got this over there. I don't know what that is.
We've got Lego
Got
right
that
here,
over
which
there. I don't know
actually
what that
has
is either.
some
Monster
pretty,
Ubisoft. In 2014, that was a good E3 story time. Ready at Dawn. They're gonna be talking about The Order 1886. I had done a reaction video to the trailer because I was so excited, and Ready at Dawn saw it. And they were like, that's awesome. Like, you are awesome, and we want to meet you, and we want to talk to you at E3. They let me play the game. I got like the best treatment ever. It was like, I felt like I was in a dream. It was so surreal to me because I was like, how is this happening right now? I'm actually talking one-on-one with a developer. It's a whole new experience because gamers are just kind of like, they receive the product and they don't see how the game is made, and sometimes that's a good thing because I have experienced it where I was like, I kind of wish I hadn't seen so much of the making of the game. But I mean, that's what I do, right? Like, that's what I do. That's what I like to do. I like to cover. But yeah, Ready at Dawn was like showing me around, and then they were like, "Oh wow, we need to take you to see this like uber secret demo of the game." And I was like, "Really?" And they're like, "Come on, we'll take you." And I was like, "Oh my god!" So I'm like following them. We go up these stairs. We go into this room, and I watch them play the demo. And then one of the Ready at Dawn guys comes in, and he's like, "So, he's outside, and he's waiting." And the other guy's like, "No, just tell him to wait. We're almost done. Just tell him it'll be a few minutes." And I was like, if I need to go, it's fine. And they're like, no, it's fine. You're important to us. So I was like, okay. 5 minutes pass, and he comes back in, and he's like, he's outside, and he's waiting, and you know, like, come on, this. And I was like, who is it? This was like a highlight of my life, not just E3, of my freaking life. They made him wait for me to finish playing the demo. They bring him in, I kid you not, my face goes white, my jaw, like I was like, oh my god, I'm gonna die, like, I'm gonna just die. Kojima walks in, and I was like, I didn't even know what to do. You know those moments where you're just like, where you feel like you're gonna crap yourself? He looks at me, and then he looks at the developer, and he's got his people around him. Oh my god, should I pretend like I'm this like important person or something? Don't you know who I am? It's just turning smaller and smaller and smaller in the background. Oh my god. I never felt so small and so big at the same time because they made Kojima wait. And they knew it was Kojima. CD Projekt Red has always been really, really nice to me. They always invited me to the behind the closed doors for The Witcher 3, so I was always on top of what was going on with The Witcher 3. And then that was also the year that I got the interview with Cameron Lee and Leslie Tonin for Dragon Age Inquisition. That was the first E3 that I met Ash as well, Lady Insanity. We kind of stick around with each other for a while. The first thing we see is Dragon Age Inquisition, like this huge room. And it was so cool because it was the Inquisitor like this with his hand, and it was glowing green. And there was already this huge line, and I was like, crap. But I had been invited by Cameron Lee. He was like, come and we'll take you behind closed doors to see the demo for Dragon Age Inquisition, because it was behind closed doors. Me and Ash got separated. That I forgot about that. Ash stayed there, and I went to go look for Cameron, and I found him, and I was like, oh hey, and he's like, oh come here, and he just grabs me and he puts me in front of the line, and I was like, and I'm just looking at everybody, and he's like, just stay there. When I went to go look for her, because I told my brother, just stay here, I'm gonna go look for Ash. I went to go look for her, and I didn't see her anymore, and I was like, what? Where is she? And she had moved, and I think was sitting on the ground or something, so I didn't see her. I felt so bad because Ash didn't go in the first round, she went in the second, and she had to wait, and I was like, oh no. I'm in the front row, and freaking Mike Laidlaw is right there, like, he's just standing right there, and I had never met him before, and I was like, and then he turns around and he looks at me and he goes, he's like, come here, let me take a picture and stuff. He gives me a hug. And then E3 2015, Ash and I played Gwent, the card game, which was also fun. And then I had a similar experience with the Eidos team. The developers of Deus Ex been kind of divided, and they were super nice as well. Like, they told me the same type of thing where they were like, we watch your videos, and they really help us remember why we're doing it, and they really energize us. And they, BioWare has told me that as well. In the beginning, like I said, I was really shaky. I didn't really know what to do, where to put the microphone, and then I just slowly started to get better at it, feel more comfortable with it. After that, any type of event that I go to that has to do with covering a game, or when I go to BioWare or something, it's not so mind-blowing anymore. It's super humbling. Like, you feel like, oh my god, I can't believe, I look up to these people, and they're telling me that, they watch my video. Like, that will always get me, and I don't ever want to get used to that. It fuels me. Top tip for the first E3 goer: experience it as a walking around, just taking it all in, and don't worry too much about those lines. It's hard to get into stuff if you didn't book it. So that's pretty much it. Let me know in the comments down below what games you are excited about during E3, if it's already been announced, if it hasn't been announced, if you're expecting it. If you did go to E3, let me know how it went. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll talk to you guys later.